Hello, and welcome to Where You're Not Entertained, where two film fans discuss their favorite flicks. I'm Daniel,
And I'm James.
and we are going to be covering Aladdin.
Yeah, not the old Aladdin.
No, the live-action
newest
remake.
Aladdin. Yeah. 2019 Aladdin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Aladdin.
Yeah.
Aladdin.
So,
Aladdin.
I didn't watch this movie for a while. I did now.
I was about to say, what are we doing here?
I had not heard the greatest reception before it came out, and I didn't really pay attention to it much after it came out. I'm also not really big into musicals. And for some reason, I'm willing, I guess in the same reason that I allow like worse stuff in cartoons, like Family Guy and things like that,
Yeah.
then I would find as appropriate in a live action. Musicals I can handle as cartoons more.
Okay.
Like most of your Disney movies are cartoon or musicals, which I'm fine with, and things like South Park the movie was a musical,
Yeah.
and I'm cool with that. But like most live action musicals, I just don't really. It's not that I hate them; I just don't have much interest in them.
Yeah, and I'm usually 100% with you. Where I'm not is if you're remaking a cartoon that was technically a musical,
Yeah,
you better have the damn music in it.
I get that. I don't know. I
Like,
think they
it's
could
part
have.
of what makes the entire cartoon. Like,
Right.
if you don't have that, then you don't have the same movie.
But I could have seen a world where it was a retelling of Aladdin, or it was a.
Have you seen The Jungle Book?
No, actually, I haven't.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
That's not how they're doing it. No, I know. Lion King.
that's because it sucked.
Oh, the Jungle Book didn't do the music,
No,
and it was bad.
it was bad.
Oh,
It
okay.
sucked. What's the point of watching it? What's the point of watching one of your favorite children's cartoons if it doesn't have the parts that made you like it in the first place? Is kind of how I see it.
I get that, and I get that for the nostalgia factor for the older audience who enjoyed the originals. But
Sure.
we're talking, 25 years from the original Aladdin to the new one. And so there's an entirely new generation of kids watching this that could have gotten something totally different and not been dissatisfied because it wasn't the same old thing again. All of that being said, they did a really good job.
It was, yeah.
Aladdin
it really
is
wasn't
actually
the same
really
old thing.
Yeah, it had all of the pieces that were stuck in my mind. I didn't feel like there was anything missing. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I felt like there was a lot of new stuff as well.
Right.
So
And they had to do it their own way. There's not a, you can't remake it perfectly as it was a cartoon.
Right.
And that's fine. And I 100% get that.
although they tried in some places and were impressively close.
Yeah, no, they did really well. I think that. So yeah, I've heard a lot of negative stuff about this movie, but I do not agree with it at all. I actually really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed this movie.
And the thing that I thought would be the hardest was Will Smith's job.
Right, the replacement of Robin Williams.
Yeah, something like you can't replace somebody as iconic as Robin
No.
Williams, but he stepped up to the plate and added his own Will Smith style to it a little bit.
And that's, yeah.
But at the same time, felt very reminiscent of the genie from the original movie.
Right.
And there was this perfect blend between the two where I didn't feel like it was this sad copy, and I didn't feel like he was just Will Smithing it up and paying no respect to the original film.
Right.
It was this perfect blend between the two. I thought it was really well, not only acted, but edited.
Well, and that's one of the things that he said. Like, when he was looking at taking the role, he was really hesitant to take the role.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. But he knew he also had to make it his own, but still pay, an homage to Robin Williams in his kind of creation of the genie.
Yeah.
The genie as a character existed before Robin Williams got a hold of it, but the genie wasn't the genie if it wasn't Robin Williams.
Yeah, not the one we know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he did. He added his own flair and own style to it without just destroying, I guess, the legacy of the genie,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
No, it makes 100% sense. Yeah. No, I agree with you there. And just to throw some shout outs, I'm going to ruin these names, so please forgive me. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll get lucky, but Mena Massoud?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's what I'd go with.
Okay, cool. Playing Aladdin, and Naomi Scott playing Jasmine. Those guys are awesome. They killed it in the songs.
Yeah.
Like, man, Naomi Scott was, if that was her singing, she was belting it out at times.
It was her
she
singing.
was awesome.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, that was great. A couple of her songs were just super impressive. But man, there were some scenes visually as well that just like floored me because it was so what I remember from the cartoon version, that the animated version, that I didn't ever think that they would even attempt to replicate. And they did, and they nailed it, and it was mildly believable.
Yeah.
Which is all I want in a movie like this.
Yeah, exactly. It still had the same kind of charm. Like each character still had, they were still likable.
Yeah.
Other than the characters you're not supposed to like, obviously, like Jafar.
Right.
Which can be difficult to do. Like to take something that is like that known and renowned, like for kind of people, I guess, of our age and younger. You know, we're old enough to have children, and if we did, I'm pretty sure we would be playing the Aladdin cartoon for the kids, you know, because it's something that we know.
It seems plausible.
Yeah. I mean, there's people that know about Little Mermaid, and I'm like, well, how have you seen Little Mermaid? Okay, well, Little Mermaid was out before I was born, and I've seen it.
Because they have videos, Daniel.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So, you know, even that, a lot of the kids today have seen some of these. They've all been released on Blu-ray and all of that, re-released by Disney. And to be able to take those characters and still have them be like likable in live action and not have it be stupid is really difficult. I have seen some of the other movies, like, and I'm just gonna keep throwing Jungle Book under the bus, but like to me, Jungle Book was just, yeah, it's a movie and I'm watching it, but there's nothing in this that is like reminiscent of the original or makes me like the characters. Or I mean, you got lions and tigers and bears, oh my, whatever. There wasn't the charisma.
Yeah.
And I realize we're talking about people here, but
that's also a danger, though, because when you have something like an animated movie, I mean, Disney's always created these kind of tropish characters. It's acceptable when it's animated because they're literally images of people.
Sure.
And they're idols almost, in a sense. And so them being iconic tropes of different kinds of people is more acceptable. Whereas when you see a live action person, if it's not done right, they can feel really not fleshed out.
Right.
And seem very two-dimensional and
cartoonish.
Yes, exactly. Cartoonish, exactly. And so it is a very fine line to change from something, especially a Disney film.
Yeah.
To go to live action and do it in a way that still feels reverential to the original piece and modern and updated.
Yeah. No, very true. And so to me, Disney they've done a good job and a bad job with some of the ones that they've done. Like this one, I think they did a really good job on. Beauty and the Beast, I think they did a really good job on as well. It's difficult. It's really hard to get that right. And even the thing that kind of shocked me about this movie is who the director is.
Yeah.
Guy Ritchie is the director of this.
Exactly.
And I was like, really? Guy Ritchie?
I mean, it makes sense when you see the way the movie is like directed.
Yeah.
It feels that way to a lot of degree, especially when Aladdin's running through the city.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of chase scene, straight up Guy Ritchie.
Yeah.
It was so. Once I saw him on the credits, I was like, oh, okay, that made sense.
Yeah.
And he's a good director.
Absolutely.
He took a job because he would be good at doing what the job required. But it didn't feel like he needed to just make it a Guy Ritchie movie.
Right.
The way that he does with, your more core Guy Ritchie movies like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Guy Ritchie movies.
Exactly. And so while I appreciate his contribution to it, I also appreciate the fact that he didn't just like Guy Ritchie it up.
Right. Try to take it over and make it his thing and not.
Somebody has some weird Cockney accent.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think he did a great job directing this movie.
Yeah.
I think everybody did a great job portraying their roles as people, even though they could be cartoonish.
Yeah.
Kind of as we mentioned before. I like the fact that they kept in all the songs. They added an original song.
Which one was that? Because I heard it, but I didn't pick it out. Do you know which one it was?
Yeah, it was... I can't remember the actual name of the song, but basically Jasmine's song about not having a voice.
Oh, okay. When she turns back to the captain of the guard?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That was an original song.
Yeah, so there was a little bit kind of towards the beginning of the movie where there's just a little kind of snippet of the song, and then she goes into the full thing in that moment when she's being escorted out by the guards.
Okay, that's really interesting because that was the one point in the movie where I felt like I was kind of taken out.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it might have actually been intentional now that I know that. Because it was when she was being escorted to, I guess, the balcony, she sloughed off the guards' hands on her arms, and they disappeared. And I was like, she doesn't have the lamp. Like, she's not a sorcerer. Like, what is happening here? And then she busts into song, and I'm realizing, oh, okay, this is kind of in her head.
Right.
And it took me a second to go, what is happening in this movie all of a sudden to figure that out? And the fact that that's the original song that they added in kind of is like, if you cut this out, we think it's better with it in, you could still have pretty much the same beats as before.
Right.
This is the addition. We'll make it, we'll put it in a different color.
Right.
To make sure that you don't feel like it's ham-fisted there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a very woman power kind of song.
Yeah.
Which is I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying
the story of Aladdin is largely about how horribly Jasmine's treated. I mean, that was the case in the original movie too without the song.
Right. Exactly. And so but without that kind of in there previously, it is a little bit of a jar. Yeah. You're just kind of like, wait, what's happening now?
It definitely puts it on the nose a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which, I think is more appropriate for the times now.
I think it works just fine.
Yeah.
I think it works just fine. That's kind of what I was saying. I think it was good that they included an original song for this. They didn't just stick with everything that they had previously.
Yeah.
They made it more modern. They included that in there. And it didn't detract from anything. It actually added to the story.
100%. Ironically, though, the song that I could not get out of my head the next day was a Prince Ali song. I mean, I remember it being good in the original, but there was something about the presentation of Will Smith doing it in this one that I was just like, it just stuck with me.
Yeah.
And it was the I'm not going until you go, and just we could be here all day. And then the slow breakdown into it.
Yeah.
Which I know they did a very similar thing in the original. But it just, man, it hooked me. It was well produced.
It was really well done.
Yeah. That was a song that I was like, damn it, all right, you got me.
That's funny.
I mean, actually, when we come back to favorite scenes, they got me hook, line, and sinker at a different spot.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and spoil that wasn't my favorite scene, even though I liked it a lot.
That was really good.
But yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, it was. I mean, honestly, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure because, like I said before, it was hit and miss with Disney turning their movies into live action. It was kind of up in the air. It had a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
Of being good, or I'd just be like, this is shit. What am I watching this for?
Right, exactly. One thing I do want to throw out there is Mena Massoud, he had the perfect face to play Aladdin.
Yeah.
There were so many moments where he nailed the cartoon expression. Especially when like he awkwardly gets caught and he has that kind of awkward smile.
Right.
It looked so much like my brain at least remembers the cartoon that they were virtually indistinguishable. He had just a super animated face. I could not imagine somebody who did a better job of filling that role because that's always hard to be as animated, no
right.
pun intended, but to live up to the animation, because that's one thing animation can do is it's over the top and you have huge expressions, and when you put that on a live action face, it looks stupid most of the time.
Yeah.
And it didn't on him. It felt sweet and genuine, and at the same time kind of over the top and absurd.
You're right.
In a wonderful way, but not in a like uncanny valley crappy way.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
really loved that. It was incredible casting, and a great performance to boot.
It really was. I agree. Speaking of casting and performance,
It's all you, buddy.
Marwan Kenzari.
Yep, I'm sure.
That's what I'm going with. Sorry, guys. As Jafar,
Yeah,
did a really good job.
only as good as your bad guy, and
Yeah.
man, he was perfect.
He was really unlikable.
Yeah, in the right way.
Right.
There always has to be this level of likability in a bad guy that's actually bad, because if you don't either respect or secretly agree with the bad guy, then when they're
Right.
overcome, you just feel like, whatever, I don't care.
Right.
There has to be this kind of intrigue to the villain. That's why vampires are so often popular villains, is because they have that sexy suaveness to them.
Right. Yeah,
And
exactly.
there has to be that kind of, the idea of a werewolf is so intriguing, because to be able to turn into this powerful wolf-like creature and then transform back into a human is something and to have him pull this off was really, really good too, because he had probably the least realistic human face.
Yes.
In the cartoon.
In the cartoon, yeah.
I mean, he had that like super long, skinny cheeks.
Yeah.
They like people just don't really look like that most
Nobody
of the time.
looks like that.
I'm
yeah.
sure you can find somebody online that looks like that, but they're
Thanks,
probably
Ali
not
Boo-Boo.
they're probably not a famous actor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, very true. No, he did have. He had a tough. Well, they all had tough roles, but I think his kind of in particular, because he did literally have to make the character his own.
Yeah.
He couldn't recreate the facial expressions.
Right.
You can't do that. He could kind of recreate like the menacing portion of Jafar that you saw in the cartoon. And he did do that to an extent, but I think he was much more believable as a right-hand man to the Sultan. Like,
Yeah.
this is what a real bad guy would be.
Right.
like blends in and feels like he fits, right? But in reality, dude is just crooked.
Right.
Crooked is all hell.
Speaking of Jafar, one thing I was very curious about is his name's Iago.
Iago. I was going to bring that up too.
How do you replace Gilbert Godfrey?
Well, the answer is you don't.
And they did it beautifully. I was so afraid they were going to try to put somebody in who has an annoying voice or something, because that's what Godfrey's known for.
Yeah.
But he does it in a way that somehow, I don't know why I like it. I mean, he has the worst voice in the world, but I still like listening to him for some reason. He is. He's so good. And there's something kind of charming about the way that he's obnoxious.
Yeah.
Versus most other people who have voices similar.
Yeah, exactly. Because he rants. He doesn't just say stuff.
Yeah.
Like he rants about things, which is what makes it funny. And that's how I can accept his voice. Because he's not just like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't want him to play The Witcher.
Right.
But the way they pared that down and kind of blended between parrot repeating and it was a sentient creature.
Intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was only when Jafar's by himself and with Iago that you actually got him to speak to him like that.
Right.
It was just really well done. I liked it a lot. And then, my God.
Uh-oh. Bad idea.
A gigantic Gilbert Godfrey parrot is comical.
Yeah.
The gigantic parrot in this was far from comical. That thing was terrifying.
It was very, very, be afraid.
Now, that being said, I play this video game called Ark Survival Evolved. Mm-hmm. And they have it has prehistoric animals in it. And so one of the animals you can tame is an Argentavis.
Okay.
The largest bird that ever lived, that we know of at least. It's gigantic. It basically, Iago turned into a huge... I have a bird in my video game that I've tamed, and it looked almost identical to Iago when he turned into the monster. So I was like, that's awesome. It's just like my bird. That's also really terrifying. I have a newfound respect for my creature.
Right. Fair enough.
All right. Well, is there anything else you wanted to hit before we got into the favorite scenes?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, then what was
other than the comedy? I guess I'll say that the comedy in this was really good.
Yeah. I mean, Smith carried it beautifully.
Yeah, but not even just him. Nassim I'm horrible. Dahlia.
Pedra,
yeah.
Pedra.
Dahlia,
Sure.
the handmaiden.
Man, she was
Jasmine.
wonderful.
She was funny.
The scene with her and the genie at the door when he's trying to ask her out. That was so awkward on both. Like, it was awkward on Genie's side, and I love the excuse me 1 second, and closing the door and making motions and whisper, mouthing to Jasmine in the corner.
Exactly.
It was great on both sides. It was a very Disney moment.
Yes. Yeah. No, it really was. Also, when Aladdin first comes into Jasmine's chambers or whatever, and Jasmine's pretending to be Dahlia.
Yeah.
Dahlia has to pretend to be Jasmine.
Yeah.
It's like, this cat's not going to clean itself.
Yeah.
But
isn't that what cats do?
Clean themselves?
Yeah.
So, yeah, sorry. I just had to throw in the comedy stuff. It was good. It was well timed.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel. So what was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene was actually in the Cave of Wonders during the introduction to Genie.
Okay.
So it was very, very reminiscent of the original.
That was my favorite scene too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was great. It's very reminiscent of the original, but Will Smith has his own flair on it, and originally he basically just turns Abu into a monkey that has a drum and plays a kazoo and cymbals? Yeah. Cymbals. And does a super quick rundown. This is who I am. Hey. And then the very next thing is nah, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and busts
boom.
into it.
Yeah, goes the full thing. Yeah. I really enjoyed the Will Smith style that they included in that song.
Mm-hmm.
The flair that he gave it. The dance number was awesome.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know if they were CGing their face onto, like, computer bodies or whether they were really dancing.
They were really dancing.
Because, my God.
Yeah.
That was so awesome. And the way they added the CG
Yeah.
of the entire cave around it and all the fireworks going off and crazy stuff. Like, I was just like, how did you make a live action of this? Like, this was one of those scenes that they were just like, pew, out of the cave and like, just skip it.
Skip.
Yeah, or it would have been like a slow rendition of You've Never Had a Friend Like Me or something.
Right.
Like, it would have been something different. And like, it was slightly, but it was shockingly similar, and I was so impressed. That was the moment I was like, all right, you got me.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to enjoy this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
From that point on, I was hooked.
Yeah.
It
was great.
It broke away all of my negative pessimism and allowed me to enjoy the rest of this film fully.
Yeah. No, I think that's very true, because it really gives you. So, I mean, you already had a musical number before then, but to be able to see the CG and the different spin that they put on it to kind of make it their own and make it fit with who they have.
Yeah.
That's really the first time that they do all of those things together.
And it's your introduction to Genie.
Yeah,
and he's going to make or break this movie.
Yes.
And it didn't feel like he was doing things that I felt like I remembered, but at the same way didn't feel like he was trying to be Robin Williams.
Right.
And that was what I needed to really get invested. And yeah, he was so good. Very good.
How does this work again? Wait, what? That's what the whole thing. I just
Also, following that up, had my favorite line in the entire movie.
Okay.
When they hopped out and they're standing in the thing, and he asked to be made. He was like, "Make me a prince." He was like, "There's a lot of gray area," and he creates a prince over there.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Okay, I see what you mean." And like they keep talking, and in the background you hear him go, "I just want to go home." And I almost didn't hear what they said afterwards. I was laughing so hard at that.
Yeah.
The way that it was perfectly comically timed, it's just that kind of like background thing that you might catch in a second viewing. I happened to catch the first time, and I was rolling. It was so funny.
I think that was supposed to be Will Smith as the Fresh Prince.
Oh, really?
I think it was.
Oh, now I have to go back and double check, because that would be the greatest thing on earth.
Yeah.
Not in West Philadelphia anymore, are you?
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah. Now, we don't often match up on the favorite scenes, but
No, we don't.
yeah, that was a really good one for me. I was really pleased with that.
Yeah.
Overall, pleased with this movie. I'm glad you made me watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was entertained.
Yeah, so was I. All right, well, hopefully you were too. If you like what you heard, please like and subscribe, and join us next time on Were You Not Entertained?